Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. New Abacus data has just dropped, and this is what it says. New Abacus poll shows Pierre and the Conservatives leading in all age groups except the boomers, 60 and older. It's time for them to wake up and see the skyrocketing deficit and weekly Canadian interest payments of $1 billion. It's time for boomers to stop listening to the CBC. If you're looking at right now from age 18 to 29, for the Conservatives it's 40%, and it's 38 for Liberals. 30 to 44, 45% for Conservatives, and 36 for Liberals. 45 to 59, 47% for Conservatives, 32 for the Liberals, and that's the kind of the more so working class, obviously from 30 to 59, and then 16 older, which is the boomer generation. They're still leeching on to that motion that the Liberal Party is the old Liberal Party of the past that they're used to, and they love that color. But let's get over it, because right now what they're saying is that 37% of the boomers are voting for Conservative, and 49% still believe and leeching on to that for the Liberal Party. Wild, absolutely crazy. Now we got Pierre right here talking about a more affordable Canada and the cost of living with all this inflation that's been happening for Canadians. So let's take a look.
Collect donations and give them to our local food banks. I'm guessing the local demand is pretty high these days. Yeah, it's incredible. We've seen roughly a 110% increase in food bank demand over the last 10 years, a staggering increase. It's more than doubled, actually, since 2019. This year is worse than last, about 7% worse than last year, as food becomes more and more expensive, which all coincides with Tuesday's 10-year anniversary of the Liberal government. It will be exactly 10 years ago that this Liberal government was sworn into power. This Liberal finance minister, of course, was part of that government from the very start. Most of the Liberal cabinet ministers and caucus members were there back in 2015, and they all made a promise that if they ran little deficits, that they would have big investments. Well, here we are, and what had happened as a result? They doubled the national debt. They doubled the cost of housing. They doubled food bank lineups. And investment, well, it collapsed, dropping 11%, the biggest drop in Canadian history and the biggest drop in the G7. In other words, deficits reduce investment. Reminds me of Ronald Reagan, the master communicator, who asked a question that rings true today. In 1980, he said to Americans, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" Well, I ask Canadians, are you better off than you were 10 years ago when Liberals came into office promising that deficits would lead to investment? What have you seen? You've seen your grocery prices rise. Your kids can't afford a place to live. More and more people are living homeless. And we've had the worst economy in the G7 for over a decade now. And now I ask the question, are you better off than you were 7 months ago when Mark Carney took office?
It's absolutely true. Like 10 years ago, like in 2015, like I was fortunate. Like I completely understand that I was born in 1986. So I'm almost 40 right now, just shy of it. And I was the lucky generation who was able to squeak in before things went to hell, like for everybody else. And I feel like we're the last generation who recognizes and feels sorry for all the other generations who were born after us, basically, like in the late 90s, in the 2000s, and how the struggle is absolutely real with them, that they can't afford a home, that the cost of living's gone up like crazy. And I remember when my wife and I we bought our house, and that was like paycheck to paycheck. We watched a lot of income property episodes, and we decided to turn our basement into an apartment. That's where my office is right now. And we did that in order to afford the mortgage at that time. So I cannot believe that this is okay for like today's standards on the boomer side of things. Like all their kids are like not doing better than they did at this age. And then they, at the same time, are upset with us that we're fed up and we're tired and we're exhausted and we're not lazy. So it's time to like share this message to everybody, wake them up, and look at the real facts.
Well, he's doubled the deficits. Inflation has gone up. Food bank lineups have grown. home building is down, and we have the worst economy in the G7. So it's with interest that I read the headline in CTV today, and I quote it. Carney signals he's prepared to fight an election over next week's budget. Why does the Prime Minister, this costly Prime Minister, want a costly election now? Why? Well, the answer is Mark Carney needs a costly election on his costly budget to distract from all of his broken promises. Let's recap them quickly. He promised to have the fastest G7 economy. He promised to have the fastest growing economy in the G7. He's delivered the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. He promised to double home building. Home building is expected now to drop by 13%, according to his own housing agency. He promised he'd be judged by the prices at grocery stores. They're rising twice as fast as the Bank of Canada's target. And 7% more Canadians will go to food banks this year than last. In fact, food prices have risen so much that there's 100% more food bank demand than there was in 2019 before COVID. He promised that he could handle Donald Trump. That's a quote. Another quote, that he would negotiate a win, that he would have a deal by July 21st. No deal, no win, no elbows, no jobs. In fact, President Trump has since doubled tariffs on Canadian goods, and Mr. Carney has now embarrassed all Canadians by apologizing for an ad that he had earlier approved. His weak leadership forced provinces to step up with their own campaigns to reach the Americans, and after they did that, and Mr. Carney approved of it, he then went groveling and offering an apology, with the result being no deal, no wins, and Canadians are losing their jobs. We cannot trust Mark Carney abroad, and we cannot afford him at home. Carney wants to blame all of these broken promises and many more that will become evident over the next several months on a costly election. He wants to claim that the reason he couldn't do any of the things that he promised during the election was because there was yet another election. Let me illustrate the bad faith and the costly approach on which he has been operating. I came to him in good faith, in a spirit of hope, and offered ideas for an affordable budget and an affordable life. I said, Mr. Carney, why don't we get rid of the industrial carbon tax on home builders and farmers so that we can have affordable food and houses, on our steel, aluminum, and cement producers so that they can compete in this trade war? He said no. In fact, he wants to accelerate industrial carbon tax increases, which will drive up inflation further and drive more jobs out of our country. That is the cost of Carney. I said, let's cut taxes on work, investment, energy, and home building. He said no. He wants to raise those taxes. That's the cost of Carney. I said that Mr. Carney should keep his promise and spend less. And that's a quote, spend less than Justin Trudeau. He said no. He wants to double Trudeau's deficits and keep on spending, driving inflation and the cost of living even higher. That is the cost of Carney. No compromise for Mr. Carney whatsoever to make for an affordable budget and an affordable life. Just more spending, more debt, more taxes, more inflation, more of the same. His spending will benefit well-connected corporate insiders like him who thrive off taxpayer-funded handouts and then tuck the money away and into tax havens abroad. We don't need a Brookfield budget. We need an affordable budget for an affordable life. Carney's costly budget this week will likely double Trudeau's deficits. This is the cost of Carney.
And if you don't know anything about Brookfield Assets, Mark Carney was on the chair of that company before he became Prime Minister of Canada. So Moose on Loose does a lot of really good investigation work on where he's going with it. All Carney's 103, maybe up to 105 now conflicts of interest, just showing all the articles, tying them all together. The guy, he put a crazy amount of work into this, and it's just it needs to be given basically to the RCMP. It's just the amount of conflicts of interest he has, and how he's basically shoveling money into his friends, and then he's slowly getting rid of people. So he got rid of Freeland, who was the Trudeau finance minister last time, and then she got kicked out because she had a 63 to 65 billion dollar deficit before Trudeau got kicked out of office, right? So now she's disappeared because she was also in the background, and Trump hates her guts. So now Carney kind of swept her under the rug. So those people are in bed together. Carney's actually the Freeland's godparent to one of her kids. So if you didn't know that, guys, like it's absolutely this levels of corruption of like just sharing like taxpayers' money with all their friends and family. Like it's just disgusting, right? And unfortunately, it's not very new. But anyways, let's continue.
Every dollar he spends comes out of your pocket. The more he spends, the more things cost. The needs that Canadians have will become more expensive as government inflates everything. It will be more expensive because of Mr. Carney to eat, heat, and house yourself. And now Mr. Carney says that you need to make more sacrifices, especially the young people. He says, we'll have to sacrifice more. What more do they have left to sacrifice, Mr. Carney? You've already taken away home ownership from them. You forced them to cut their diets and reduce the quality of the food they eat. Their paychecks are down because of high taxes, and you've given many of their jobs to temporary foreign workers. What more, Mr. Carney, do you expect our youth to sacrifice? 10 years of inflationary taxes and debt mean the cost of government is driving up the cost of living, and Liberals have left. Empty Liberal promises have meant empty bank accounts, empty fridges, and empty stomachs for Canadians. So my message today for those hungry Canadians, those who are hungry for an affordable life, is you don't have to live like this. You have sacrificed enough. You deserve to have hope, jobs, and homes. Hope, jobs, and homes in an affordable Canada. I believe that this is possible because that was the country that we always had. We as Conservatives, we're going to continue to fight for an affordable budget. And we're not giving up. Our message is that our hand is still extended, and there's still 2 days for Mr. Carney and the Liberals to reverse their costly, promise-breaking ways. Introduce an affordable budget. We would support and vote in favor of eliminating the industrial carbon tax to bring down the cost of living and to unlock our economy. We would vote for eliminating the capital gains tax on reinvesting in Canada. We would vote for lower tax on energy, home building, work, and investment. We would vote to get rid of all of the hidden taxes on foods so that Canadians can afford to eat, heat, and house themselves. We would vote to end the inflation tax by capping the deficit. That's what we're fighting for, because we want a hopeful future for all Canadians, a future that is affordable, a future that allows everyone who works hard to enjoy a nice home, delicious, nutritious food, meat and potatoes on the table every night, living on a safe street under our proud flag. Thank you very much.
We will now take questions from the media. Please identify yourself and your outlet.
Hi, Mr. Polievre. JP Tasker from CBC News. How are you doing?
Very well. Well, and I would have been better if the game had gone differently last night.
I know. I'm a little bummed out myself.
Did you stay up and watch the whole thing?
I did.
Yeah, you look like you could use a coffee like me.
Yeah. It wasn't great.
Yeah. Well, I'd say it was great, but it was just not the ending we wanted. But what a hell of a season. I think we have to give the team great credit for uniting all Canadians around this incredible sporting event. I was never a baseball fan, I'll be honest. I grew up a football and a hockey guy. But since October, I have been a very loyal, unflinching fan to the Blue Jays, and I want to thank them for all they did to give us an exciting and thrilling World Series.
Do you want an election before Christmas?
We want an affordable budget that will give Canadians affordable life before Christmas. That's my priority. We shouldn't be playing, Mark Carney shouldn't be playing games and trying to force an election. He should be sitting down with us. I'm willing to work all through the night, tonight and tomorrow, to come up with an affordable budget that will make an affordable life for Canadians. But we will not vote to raise grocery prices and increase housing costs as the Liberals have done over the last decade. Canadians cannot afford any more Liberal sacrifices. So my message is one of let's bring in a budget that's affordable so that we can have hope, jobs, and homes for all Canadians.
Next question.
I should probably have Bill Curry from the Globe and Mail. We're standing here in Stittsville, the riding of Carleton that you formerly held. Two related questions. Are you committed to running here in the next federal election? And secondly, During this campaign, there's a lot of public servants who live in this riding. Bruce Fanjoy focused on the Liberal campaign promise to cap, not cut the public service. And yet we're seeing signals from Mr. Champagne that there will be overall reductions, possibly tens of thousands, in terms of lowering the size of the federal public service. Is that something you support?
Well, I'll let you know when I have news for you on the first point. On the second point, though, we have too much bureaucracy. Over this costly Liberal decade, they've increased the size of the bureaucracy by 50%. And they've doubled the spending on consultants to do the jobs that public servants are supposed to be doing. I was very honest during the last election. We need to cut bureaucracy and consultants. It might not have been a popular position, but it's the only way that we're going to bring down the deficits, the inflation, and the cost of living. So far, though, despite all the grandstanding from Mr. Carney, the letters he sent around to his ministers and leaked to the Globe and Mail, spending on bureaucracy is actually up an astonishing 8% in less than a year. So Mark Carney has a more costly bureaucracy than the inflated one that Justin Trudeau left behind. And we need to go in exactly the opposite direction with less bureaucracy, less consultants, lower costs. That is that way that we can bring down taxes, debt, and inflation. Thank you.
Next question.
Hello, Anya Kudadeglia from the Canadian Press. I wanted to get your reaction to the Nova Scotia's government response to the Supreme Court decision that came out last week, striking down mandatory minimums for child pornography. Basically, the Nova Scotia Justice Minister says they have grave concerns and they want the Liberal government to take action. So what's your response, and what would you like to see the Liberals do?
Thank you. Great question. I was really disgusted with this ruling. The two convicted pedophiles in question contributed to the torment and torture of literally hundreds of kids. One of them had 377 pornographic images of children between 3 and 6 years old. Another had hundreds of videos of children, I think between the ages of 5 and 10. That is the age range of my children. And let us be clear, this is not a victimless crime. The monsters who look at this material create a profit motive for literally hundreds of kids to be tortured and humiliated in videos that may circulate for the rest of their lives. They will never recover from this trauma. And yet, these two perverts are going to get out of jail in a year and 9 months. Frankly, those sentences were far too low. And now the court says that some other users of child pornography should be able to get out in less than that time. This is insane. It's nuts. And quite frankly, should Canadians make me their Prime Minister, I will use the notwithstanding clause, and I will bring in mandatory prison sentences for users of child porn that are far higher than the ones that were already in place. In other words, the mandatory minimums I will institute using the Charter of Rights and Freedoms will be far, far tougher than the ones the court just shut down. And finally, I will do that to uphold the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, because those hundreds of kids, they have charter rights. And I'm more worried about the charter rights of our children than I'm about these perverts and pedophiles.
That was a great speech just for that in general, but I think you should add something else to that as well, and that is to castrate those people. Take a page from South Africa, and that's what they do to those kind of people who are charged with those kind of crimes. They should absolutely be removed a certain body parts on them and then release them into the wild and let them fall off a cliff, because these people should not be around our kids, public schools, or anything like that. Daycares, they're disgusting, vile, and we need to put a stop to this. It's the Liberal government who's too soft on crime. This just keeps on like refreshing again and again, little slap on the hand, and then they keep coming out and they keep redoing offenses. They are professional like criminals out there, and they just keep on getting caught again and again and wasting taxpayers' money on the police officers who risk their life every single day to put them behind bars just so that a judge can be like, well, he's one day before he becomes a legal immigrant, so I think we will let him out before then so it doesn't make him be deported from this country. no, enough of this crap. Get rid of them. Get rid of anybody who doesn't have Canadian values out the door. Bye.
Next question.
David Aiken, Global News. Welcome back to Stittsville. Mr. Polievre.
I wanted to hold it close to your house, David, so that you didn't have to drive very
close.
far.
Thank you. Yeah,
but I still haven't got my invitation over to your place for a morning coffee. I might be more perky if you had done that.
We have lots of Halloween candy left over. So you can come over and
the
help
sugar
finish
might
that.
help.
There you go. Coming back to the budget, lowering taxes is great for people who pay taxes, and that's often middle and higher income. Thinking about the kind of people who'd use this food bank, lower income Canadians who may not benefit from lower taxes in a big way, are there some other affordability measures that a conservative government or that conservatives might advocate now, specifically aimed at the folks who might use this place?
Yes, absolutely. I want to cut the worst, most immoral tax of all, the tax that targets the poorest people the most, and that is the inflation tax. Inflation happens when governments print money and bid up the cost of everything people buy. It is proven beyond any doubt that the poorest people suffer the most as a result of inflation because they do not have assets that insulate them from the rising cost of living. The inflation tax, the liberal inflation tax, takes from the poor and gives to the rich. It takes from the have-nots and gives to the have-yachts. So when the reason why the food bank use has gone up by over 100% during the massive expansion of liberal government spending and deficits is because the inflation that spending has caused has landed on the shoulders of single moms and seniors and others who can't pay their bills. So when we talk about capping liberal deficits, it's not to please accountants who are looking at spreadsheets. It's to stop inflation so that the working poor, the people who get out of bed every day and work hard for not a lot of money, will at least preserve the purchasing power of their dollar. Also, let's get rid of the industrial carbon tax, which again, driving up energy costs will drive up the cost of living on the poorest people. We can't allow that. Our working poor in this country cannot afford more expensive energy. You want to defeat poverty, there's the two best ways to do it is to have strong money that buys affordable food, homes, and fuel, and abundant, affordable energy for all. That's how we're going to make this a poverty-free nation.
Next question.
Do you think it was appropriate for the Prime Minister to apologize to Trump for the Ontario ad? And if not, what would you have done in that scenario?
Well, first of all, I would have provided this strong leadership so that provinces did not have to all run off in their own direction. Now, we don't see a variety of different governors in the U.S. being forced to run ads in Canada or do their own diplomacy. We see that because Mark Carney has been weak, indecisive, he has no plan, and he's broken all of his promises. So the provinces have been left with no choice but to fill the void that Carney's weak leadership has left behind. And then Mr. Carney has been very duplicitous. He approved the ad, and then he condemned the ad, and then he apologized for the ad. He embarrassed himself and regrettably the whole country, and we can't trust Mark Carney abroad. We can't afford him here at home. Thank you.
We have time for a final question.
On the budget, Don Davies, the NDP interim leader, said today that one option for the party is that they might abstain. The Bloc said they are ruling that out as an option. For Conservative MPs, is abstention an option on the budget vote?
Well, before I answer that, you live around here as well, don't you? Used to. Oh, used to. You're not in Stittsville anymore. Okay. I didn't have to leave. The reality is that we're going to show up and do our jobs to fight for an affordable budget. We'll be there on Tuesday to see what the government puts in. We don't need a higher cost of living through a higher costed budget. We need an affordable budget for affordable lives for all Canadians, and that's what we're going to be fighting for. But I can't tell you any more than that till I see the thing.
Thank you. This concludes today's.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Thank you.
That's who we need as our next prime minister. And if a snap election was going to happen before Christmas this year, I believe that he needs to get on the Joe Rogan show. He needs to do more podcasts like he did with Jordan Peterson, reach that younger crowd because they're fed up. Everyone is done. And I just love how like Trump loves to play foul, even though he's already been recorded before. He's like was all pissy about the ad, and I don't think that the ad should have been done in the first place. It was bad politics from the beginning because it was in the middle of almost getting a deal, and then they throw the ad out. So it almost makes you wonder if there wasn't an actual deal to be had by the Liberal government. It's just all BS. And then Ford's dabbling in because there's no leadership at all. There's no leadership from the higher up going down to all the MPs or by all the leaders of each province at all. And then you talk about like, interference, like Trump's playing foul about that. He interfered with our election. Like Orange Man bad. Same thing. Called out us as the 51st state, said he was going to take over Canada, all this kind of crap. That's foreign interference also. So you can't have your cake and eat it too with this guy, but you can't control what he does either. They're a superpower. They're like the biggest military, like one of the biggest militaries. Like our countries are blended in a lot of good ways as well. And we can't do it without them. Like we might as well just join up and just be like, North American. Just call it like not US, not Canada, just call us North American. The North Americas. Because we'd be a superpower, absolutely, for the entire world. But anyways, comment down below what you guys think is going to happen with this. Is there going to be a winter election? Is there not? Do you think that the NDP is just going to bow out because, he's looking a little slouchy these days, like he's kind of cowarding a little bit, the leader of the NDP. So we'll find out. But anyways, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Should be interesting.